Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Ella.
Today we'll be analyzing the Decision to Go to the Moon speech presented by John F. Kennedy.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy was born to Joseph and Rose on May 29, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts. His parents were wealthy members of two of Boston's most prominent Irish Catholic political families. As a child, Kennedy faced many persistent health-related issues, including influenza, measles, and scarlet fever. He attended many private schools, eventually making his way to Harvard University. There, he developed an interest in political philosophy. Soon after graduating, Kennedy joined the Navy during World War II. After serving time as a lieutenant, he was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for his great leadership and courage. Kennedy decided it was time to pursue a job in politics and ran for the Democratic Party for Massachusetts' 11th Congressional District. On November 8, 1960, he became the official president of the United States.
In Kennedy's speech, he's explaining to the public his determination and reasoning behind wanting to put a man on the moon, which at the time was unheard of. Towards the beginning of the speech, Kennedy tells the crowd of the historical background information of Houston, Texas, and Rice University, where he gave his speech. Kennedy begins to persuade people that discovery is a key American descriptor, and soon gets many people associating discovery with the United States' founding. The public begins to believe in achieving the impossible and sending an astronaut up into space to travel land further than ever traveled before. Kennedy explains that this is not in response to the tensions in the Cold War with the Soviet Union, saying that a banner of freedom and peace he hopes to have placed on the moon rather than one of hostility and conquest. Looking further in the speech, Kennedy explains the scientific gain that this new terrain will lead to. Not only does this event gain a victory for America, but it also gives America an entire new world of research and knowledge that was never thought to exist until now. Kennedy concludes his speech with an uprising feeling of hope and excitement in the public as the choice to explore the moon continued to grow on them.
In January of 1961, the United States and the Soviet Union were competing against each other in the space race. Many Americans believe that the U.S. was losing the race after the Soviets launched the first artificial satellite and sent the first man into space. Kennedy asked his Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, who had a role as chairman of NASA, to investigate what could be done in order to catch up in the race. Kennedy also wanted to find out what the project was going to cost. The NASA administrator, James E. Webb, suggested that the best option was to land a man on the moon, although it would come at an expensive cost totaling around $22 billion. On May 25, 1961, Kennedy gave a speech to Congress and proposed the idea of landing a man on the moon, but not everybody was impressed. His mission furthered with the expansion of NASA's Space Task Group into a spacecraft center located in Houston, Texas. He visited the site and took up an opportunity to give a speech in order to gain more support.
In Kennedy's speech, he is explaining to the public his determination and reasoning behind wanting to put a man on the moon, which at the time was unheard of. Towards the beginning of the speech, Kennedy tells the crowd of the historical background information of Houston, Texas, and Rice University, where he gave his speech. Kennedy begins to persuade people that discovery is a key American descriptor, and soon gets many people associating discovery with the United States' founding. The public begins to believe in achieving the impossible and sending an astronaut up into space to travel land further than ever traveled before. Kennedy further explains that this is not in response to the tensions in the Cold War with the Soviet Union, saying that a banner of freedom and peace he hopes to have placed on the moon rather than one of hostility and conquest. Looking further in the speech, Kennedy explains the scientific gain that this new terrain will lead to. Not only does this event gain a victory for America, but it also gives America an entire new world of research and knowledge that was never thought to exist until now. Kennedy concludes the speech with an uprising feeling of hope and excitement in the public as the choice to explore the moon continued to grow on them.
Kennedy uses many rhetoric devices throughout his speech to impact the audience in hope of some support. He starts off his speech with the use of antithesis, saying, "The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds." He He strengthens his point by contrasting their growing comprehension with their unawareness. He says that by more information they acquire, the more they realize what they do not know. Kennedy knows that in order to expand research for the moon landing, they must learn what they do not know and grow from it in order to become successful in the future.
Later in his speech, he uses rhetorical questions to make his point more effective. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? Kennedy chose to use this device in order to grab the audience's attention and get them to think. By engaging them in thought, he's able to emphasize that even though his project has some drawbacks, it is the final destination that matters. Kennedy also uses references towards traditional American ideals, such as trust, freedom, and hope. Through the use of these references, Kennedy encourages the crowd's association of space discovery and the founding of America. This later benefits him by persuading more people to support the choice to send a man up to the moon.
In conclusion, John F. Kennedy was an inspiring and motivating president, and our country would not be where it is today without him.